Hi there, my name is Phil Anderson, and I'm running for United States Senate to represent Wisconsin. The three themes of my campaign are peace, prosperity, and privacy, and tonight we're going to talk about prosperity, specifically about organized labor and labor unions. Now, one might assume, and if you've been paying attention to the rhetoric surrounding what Governor Walker's been doing over the last 5 years or so, you might assume that libertarians are strictly against labor unions. And there's a lot of talk about how he receives money from the Koch brothers, and has, in fact, received money from the Koch brothers, and they're against unions, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is that libertarians are all about freedom. And an important one is freedom of association and freedom to negotiate contracts. So if people want to form a union, great. If you want to form a union and then negotiate with employers to have them hire you and form a contract with a union as opposed to individual employers, that's great too. In a lot of cases, unions do a very good job of training and of taking over human resources functions that businesses might not want to do. They take care of healthcare, training, discipline on occasion. All those are good things if an employer chooses to contract with a union, and there's no problem with that at all. There is a problem, however, if labor unions then try to influence politics, and if those labor unions represent people in the public sector, then there's certainly a conflict of interest there, but that's already been addressed in Wisconsin. But I do agree that public sector unions are a bad, bad thing. They're a recipe for coercion and for corruption. But in the private sector, unions are just fine. There's no problem with them at all. As a matter of fact, I would go so far to say that the right to work legislation that has been proposed in Wisconsin is an abrogation of rights to form contracts for employers. Because what right to work is, it would say that if anybody wants to work somewhere and doesn't want to belong to a union, that they don't have to belong to that union. And in effect, it breaks unions. It makes unions very, very difficult to operate in Wisconsin. And those employers that want to contract with unions, their right to form contracts is inhibited. So that's wrong. So right to work is a bad idea. Labor unions are a great idea as long as everyone's choosing them freely, except for in the public sector where there's an inherent conflict of interest. And in that sense, I support what happened through Act 10. The other stuff that's gone on, that Governor Walker has done against private sector unions, et cetera, is all a bad thing and not libertarian. Do not let people tell you otherwise. If you have any questions about that or want to contact me about anything, feel free to reach me at Twitter. That's @4PhilAnderson, on our Facebook page. Anderson for U.S. Senate, facebook.com/Anderson for U.S. Senate, at the website 4Philanderson.org, or email me at 4PhilAnderson@gmail.com. Thanks, I'll talk to you tomorrow.